So today we're talking about my favorite personality part, um, and it's going to be over the structures of personality. So let's get started. So Freud developed these three elements of personality, which he distinguished as the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. But he later actually revised that and changed it to three levels of three basic structures known as the id, ego, and superego. And here you can just see a photo representing that with ego, superego, and id. And Freud compared the mind to the iceberg, where the conscious portion is above the water and the larger portion, which is the unconscious, is below the surface of the water. So now I'm going to be discussing all three of those here. So the first level is id, which is the pool for instincts and libido. And it supplies all the energy for the ego and superego because it's actually quite strong, quite powerful. The id basically strives to satisfy the bodily needs, and operating in a way Freud termed as the pleasure principle, where the id avoids pain and maximizes pleasure. And immediate gratification is what it wants, so it is selfish and primitive, and it has no understanding of reality. You can think of it as a baby, because they must satisfy their hunger needs, and it is very deep desire that they must satisfy, yet they have no understanding of reality. And this is termed as the primary process thought. And then here I just have a photo representing id. You can just focus on here. And the example is, I need to eat right this second. So it's aiming for immediate gratification with no thought process, no understanding of reality. So now we'll move on to the next level, the ego. And the ego can be described as the rational structure of the three. Its goal is to help reduce that tension that id feels. But ego actually has a grip on reality. So it will help provide that tension reduction, but it will decide when and how it can be satisfied. And ego doesn't really stop the id, but instead it does it according to reality. And this is defined in a term called reality principle. And Freud gave a wonderful example, saying the horse is a very powerful force, the horse, and it can be controlled by the rider, which must guide it. So you can think of the horse as the id and the rider as the ego. And the ego is it's like the compromiser. So it must be working constantly. And if the id ever takes over, it can be very dangerous for a person. They can be a danger to society, etc. And here I just have a photo representing the three again. And you can see here's the id. I want to do that right now. But the ego is trying to make a compromise. Maybe we can make a compromise. And we'll be discussing the superego here up on the next slide. So the final of the three components of the levels of personality is the superego. And it is also powerful just like the id. It is mostly unconscious, but slightly conscious, as seen before in the iceberg representation. And we acquire this in childhood, our ideas of right and wrong. It is basically our morality internalized and developed from our parental and societal values and standards. Freud actually believed it is learned by the age 5 to 6. And there are two parts of superego actually. The conscious, which contains behaviors for which the child has been punished. So that is the first component of superego, the conscious. And the second part is the ego ideal, which consists of the good or correct behaviors for which the child has been praised. It is like self-control. We often feel guilty or shame when we break these morals, so that it might explain why you happen to feel these things. It's your superego at work. And its goal is moral perfection. The id presses for satisfaction, while the ego tries to delay it, and the superego urges morality above all. And here I just have another picture representing the three again, and you can see the id, the superego, and the ego. The id being those innate desires, whether it be sexual or impulses or aggression, very deep and powerful desires. Then you have on the opposite spectrum, the superego, which is very morally perfect, and it's all your values and the rights and wrongs you learned as a child at work. But then you have your ego, which is, you can think of as mature, and it tries to compromise between the two to satisfy your id, but also not let the superego take over as well. And yeah, those are just my that is just my favorite personality part, and I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.